Wars, and the title of our chapter was School Ma'ams as Lobbyists. Oh, and I'm Catherine.
Oh, we have to introduce. I'm Bailey. All right, so this is Margaret Haley. She taught in the Chicago poverty schools, so it was basically full of immigrants and stuff. And also, even though Chicago was a prosperous city, she only got $35 an hour, and she thought she deserved 40. So she brought attention to the people who were committing tax evasion. Basically, she took time off teaching, and she investigated Chicago taxes and found that major corporations were basically dodging paying taxes. So she pointed it out to the public, and she was able to funnel $200,000 back into the school system through that, which doesn't seem a lot to us, but it was a lot at the time. Also, she did something pretty profound. She was tough. She was really tough, and she led the teachers union to work with men's working corporation sort of thing, which was unheard of at the time, and the media blew up over it, saying that unions made women masculine. Basically, these women weren't even women anymore because they were working with the men and they were getting into violent groups and such. So that's her. She was huge in the education system. And she was as well. This is Ella Flagg Young. She was very progressive for the time. She was the first female leader of a major school system, which is huge. And she basically got a lot of teacher training. She wanted to get these 13-year-old girls to teach, but they didn't have the background in order to do that because they received poor grammar school instruction. And so she kind of started like her own little book club. She had the teachers over to read Shakespeare, and she brought in like child psychologists to help learn the best way to teach. So that was like my favorite part of the book. And she also, something progressive she did was she encouraged sanitation. These immigrant children, she would bring them in, she'd teach them how to clean themselves, she'd wash them up, feed them, that sort of thing. And also, she wanted to get rid of homework in order to get rid of the achievement gap. And this is John Dewey. He inspired Miss Young. He founded the University of the Chicago Laboratory. He was also very progressive. He wanted to get the people the students, like learning to be student-centered and active, instead of what they had, which was just memorizing and teachers talking and that sort of thing. And so his ideas kind of helped found new experimental schools where learning was more active.
So here we have some similarities between like then and now. And one of the big similarities that we thought was interesting was there was the Chicago Teachers Federation, and today it's known as the American Federations of Teachers. And that's just a union that like supports teachers and like makes sure that teachers are getting paid enough and just helps them along the way. And then schools today still have to do with students' poor hygiene. We're about to watch a little video on that, especially in like poverty areas. There's children that come to school that like aren't clean, need food, need to brush their teeth. And so teachers today are still having to like help students along with that. The idea of homework is still debated today because of the achievement gap. And the achievement gap is basically saying that children living, it's not fair to give homework out to students because children living in poverty aren't getting as much support from home with homework as children, let's say, living in a wealthier family. And that's still highly debated today. And schools still suffer from budget cuts. I'm sure that we've all had to not been able to go on field trips or not, have decent desks because of budget cuts in schools. And as you can see, that's a pretty bad quality picture, I'm sorry. But there's some similarities between even the classroom setup with the classic desk and students sitting in the desk. Oh, and here we have a little video just showing like a modern, oh, we need